Unicorn Nation, welcome to another episode of the Unicorn Perspective. Today's guest, Aalap Shah, founder of 108 Digital. This was a really exciting conversation, not just because we dove deep into a topic that I'm not really great at and have really little expertise in regarding SEO, Amazon marketing, the Amazon platform. So I learned a lot, and I always selfishly want to interview people that teach me, right? And obviously teach all of you, but also because we spoke about bigger, more important things, right? We talked about giving back, philanthropy, what entrepreneurs that have achieved success can do to contribute to their community, both at a local and global level. We talked about education, what needs to be done there to improve that system, why it's so important, what the issues are. And it was just really insightful. And I took a lot away from this conversation. I took a lot of notes during this conversation mentally and then wrote them down after. And I'm just super excited for you all to listen to Aalap and learn both about stuff to do on the marketing side, the business side, but also what you can do to contribute and give back more. So stay tuned. You're really going to enjoy this one. All right, Mr. Aalap Shah, welcome to the Unicorn Perspective. It's awesome having you on here, man. I'm really excited to chat.
It's great to see you, Max. As we kind of were chatting, you're the last person I saw before I went into quarantine. So it's awesome to see you again.
Yeah, it's full circle. We saw the last event, and now things are starting to open back up, and we're connecting virtually, and hopefully we see each other in person again soon. So there's so many. I was thinking before we hopped on, just like I told you, I don't put structure to this, and I don't like pre-write a lot of stuff because I just want to naturally go where it goes. But I was like, there's so many avenues that we can go down here because you've done so much, and you work in areas that I don't talk to as many people in those areas, like SEO or like Amazon marketing or these different areas. And then you have the philanthropy thing. You have 3 kids. So there's just so many paths that we can go down here. And I'm sure we'll touch on all of them. Let's start with the fun number stuff, and then we can get into the great personal stuff. What are you seeing right now? This is like the question I'm asking all my friends in the industry in terms of just overall trends. What are they seeing cost wise? What are they seeing, just key metric wise? What's performing, what's not performing? Super broad, open-ended question, but would love to get your kind of pulse on that.
For sure. It's a great question because I feel fortunate to have this like front row seat to an awesome array of like food, beverage, pet, and toy brands, right? So that's kind of the wheelhouse that we play in, is really running Amazon content and a little bit of paid for these brands. And I'll tell you, it kind of changes quarter by quarter. So March came and we saw almost everyone pulling out of the market. A lot of folks pulling their marketing spending and just pausing. And then fortunately, we really saw a resurgence in demand on our e-com segment, right? SEO is through the roof. Same with paid media. In fact, even without doing much, these brands were getting some great sales. Let's say like 10 to 12x of anything that they were doing in the past year. One really interesting segment too is like for the toy industry, at least, what happened was it was like Christmas in March. So if you looked at all the trends in e-com, the brands that were out there in the marketplace advertising and spending money were really getting parents like me, like desperate, looking for new things for their kids to do. So it's been a really healthy market, especially if you have money to spend and put into the market. I think if you're willing to take the risk, and put in money where people are pulling out. So we saw like the travel, financial, all those sectors really minimize their spend, and really opened up, the CPMs and CPCs for scrappier brands to really move in and get some market share. Either if it's as simple of I'm in my Amazon Prime app and looking for my favorite flower brand, and now I've got to go search on the internet for a replacement because Whole Foods doesn't have it, to, like I said, the toy and game industry where parents and grandparents and all these folks are just looking for new things to do and are willing to buy.
Yeah, I think Walmart came out, this is like a month ago, once they saw the initial surge was in, food and paper towels and toilet paper and Clorox. Then it moved to, games, entertainment, hair, like Barbie, like cleaning products and grooming products and all that stuff. Are you seeing that begin to normalize now in terms of like product categories going back kind of to normal, or is it you're still seeing like high demand in those categories?
I'm seeing incredible demand. Like, I think the discoverability for some of these smaller brands that like weren't on the map or couldn't get on the map because they didn't have the budgets to spend against these larger brands. They're building some really good loyal fan base, right? People are getting introduced and spreading the word. One indication for me is just SEO. So in general, right, like if I'm looking for new bed sheets or a new game or whatever it might be, I might not be going past that first page result. And I'm seeing brands that we work with that are on the second, third, fourth page, seeing like, you know, 300% increases from organic search revenue, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And all that means to me is like people are willing and have time now to just sit in their front of their screens and thumb through the results to find what's really appealing to them. They're doing a lot more comparison shopping. And we are seeing more discounting overall. So if a brand or a smaller brand was maybe more at full price, we're seeing more of the holiday type of run-of-the-mill 20%, 25% off just to recapture that sale back. So I think there's a lot of just a lot of opportunity out there. And in fact, I feel like most of my ecom brands that I work with aren't spending enough. So some of the things that we're doing is just like, hey, you know, brand X, do you have $2 or $3 grand to spend this week on Amazon? Let's see if we can keep that A cost at a reasonable level, but get you that incrementality in terms of sales.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging place to be for a lot of brands. At least that we're seeing, because there's supply chain issues, right? And so you have this incredible surge in demand and decrease in overall costs. And the mistake that we're seeing brands make, I wouldn't even call them brands, more like the drop shippers and POD kind of marketers, is pushing real hard when they're already 5-6 weeks out in shipping, and they're just going to get trashed when it comes to reviews and stuff. I'd imagine for Amazon brands, it's even more important because like those reviews, it's not like a Shopify store where you can delete and like you can kind of mess with the numbers, right? Like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So how are your clients kind of balancing that on Amazon specifically with, hey, I want to sell a lot more, but I gotta keep with my inventory, right?
It's a great question. So most of the brands I work with are going to be your traditional like folks that are in like Walmart, Whole Foods, Target, that were just really like kind of taking some steps into the D2C marketplace, whether it's Amazon or Shopify. And so I would say that the only thing that's stopping us from selling more right now is that they have incredible supply chain issues, and especially when you look at essential categories like shampoo, you know, food ingredients. And so that's actually what we're contending with, is that we're really being capped on budgets because we just don't have inventory, and or they're being shipped in, just kind of that problem you alluded to. So we are kind of thinking about, you know, what are some other things that we can do quickly, like is because we have all that traffic on our site, are there ways that we can either bundle people into subscriptions, or maybe there's like a prepaid, you know, amount of inventory that they can buy and receive it in the future. We're trying to be as creative as we can. But we know that shopper is impatient too. Like if I need a kid's hair care shampoo today, I'm not going to wait, you know, 2 or 3 weeks for my favorite brand to come in stock. The other thing that was really interesting as sales started accelerating online was a lot of my clients were like, man, like if I could only get that shipment back from Target, you know, that I sent them 100 cases of and bring it back in. And so far, no client's been actually able to do it. But you know, we're seeing the .coms perform too, like beyond just Amazon and the resurgence or how important Amazon is to my clients' bottom line, like Walmart.com and Target.com or CVS.com. Those are really strong growth channels for us too. Because if I'm looking for a brand and it's out of stock somewhere, like I'm going to try everyone before I switch altogether. So yeah, supply chain issues are a major issue on the essentials category that we faced quite a bit. And all we're trying to do is just be proactive and say, hey, here's your sales rate that we can see in Amazon. What are we doing about getting supply back in? You know, because then either we can turn this off or accelerate based on what you're getting back in stock.
That makes complete sense. So a quick question about Walmart. I don't know if I have an answer to this because this is like super specific, but I've seen more and more that like Walmart, especially, they're really investing in their own internal ad platform. And I know like Instacart starting to do all these kind of places that have just a lot of shoppers are starting to build up their own internal ad platforms. Have you tested that at all? Like Walmart ads or Target ads internal inside those properties?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say like I'm really hot in Walmart.com right now. Like I love Amazon, but Walmart to me is quickly catching up. And if you can't get your Amazon items listed, or you're not getting enough traction, or you can't spend the money on Amazon, try Walmart. And a lot of this I'm really learning firsthand because we have a few PPE clients, right, in the cloth mask business or hand sanitizer business that Amazon has just shut down completely,
Yep.
or at least had shut down, right, from listing. So we really diversified our platforms to like Walmart, eBay, Groupon, platforms that had some opportunity for like small brands to like get listed. I'd say like Walmart is really catching up pretty actively to the capabilities of Amazon. And like you're in paid media, right? Like Amazon's paid media, still has ways to go to meet like Facebook and Google's. But I'd say Walmart is rapidly catching up and is becoming a very important sales channel for us. And one more point to add to that is that Walmart visibility gives us an access to get into store too. Because I think that hybrid of like, at least for my brands, like that D2C and being at retail gives them that credibility pop that most brands are looking for to sell online too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely holds more weight saying, "Hey, you can buy a product on Amazon and Target. I mean, Walmart and Target than just Amazon because like anybody can go on Amazon."
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of the average consumer doesn't understand probably how that you can get on Walmart.com without necessarily being in the
Right.
the store, and that does make sense. It's like, hey, if you get on the website and you start crushing it, like much easier conversation to negotiate getting into physical retail.
Mhm.
What is the process as easy as like I wouldn't say easy, but comparatively easy as like Amazon, like listing something there?
So I think Amazon's like a beast. Like I tell my clients, I forewarn them before they like start thinking about Amazon to like give themselves like somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks to get listed, right? Because either it's like it happens like that, or there's going to be like you miss one address on Amazon.com like to get Seller Central and like you're screwed. So Walmart on the flip side is incredibly easy. I think from start to finish, like we can get a client on it like in a week or two or less.
Oh wow.
Um, so, I think that Walmart just has made it very open and easy to be listed and grow that traction because they're just trying to catch up, right? And I think they built some really good capabilities. There's some options to fulfill via Walmart as well. Um, I think the pricing is a little bit favorable. Obviously, yet to see what happens when they become that duopoly, right, online with Amazon, and what changes. But for now, I think it's kind of it's where Amazon was like 5 years ago, right? Like, it's a great time to get onto Walmart.com right now.
Super interesting. So bigger picture question, just to I want to get your thoughts on this. Somebody that knows Amazon really well and's been in the platform at a high level, like where do you think Amazon goes? It fascinates me, and I'll just preface this by saying it's I get torn with this because, and I've talked about this in like a few episodes of different guests.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a kind of through and through capitalist, free market person, and so there's a big part of me that's always been, hey, if you just outcompete and outplay everyone, you become massive. Like, who am I to get in the way? And then it's like, I see a future where Amazon just owns everything. It's just like, and I think what's happened the last few months has just given them even bigger of a jump because they've just absolutely crushed them, Walmart and Costco, pretty much. So I'm just curious, like, if you have an opinion in any way of like where they're going, and if you think that's like the best direction for just like consumers and businesses.
I love this question because I think about it quite a bit, right? Like when you think about Amazon and how deeply integrated it becomes in your daily life, like we have Alexa, like we have every single Amazon thing that you could possibly imagine, and it becomes like seamless to order anything, even though like we live on one of the busiest retail corridors, right? Like it's just way easier for us as a family of five to just order on Amazon. So all that aside, I think they get deeper and deeper into building out their fleet and taking over kind of shipping, or not taking over, but like competing side by side. And for the small business owner, I think that could be great. Right now we have some options. I used to be a retailer. I used to own a toy store, right? And so now I have some more diversity in shipping options and even having a direct line into my marketplace on Amazon. I think they become heavier in retail. So we have an Amazon grocery store opening up just around the corner from us. They're thinking, or they were thinking about buying J.C. Penney, right? Like, so to me, there, I think it's just going to become a larger nucleus and come, surround us until we find very specialty retailers that can be really good at one thing, just like Amazon was at books when it first started, right? And then people like you and me are going to start thinking about like, well, this is great, this is Amazon, but let's see what else is out there. So they have a lot more room to grow. I think for a small business owner, even when you think about independent retailers and merchants, there's going to be ways to work with Amazon to succeed and thrive on that platform. I'll tell you that like when I owned my toy stores, one of the reasons why I exited that business was because Amazon was undercutting me on every single toy. And I'd have customers at that time like walking in with their iPhones and saying, "Hey, Aalap, like this dollhouse, it's like $80 cheaper on Amazon." I'm like, like, we offer service, we offer free gift wrap. Like I have to inventory the item. It's not a drop ship item. And one of the reasons why I exited that business. And I think it's going to come full circle with that too, is where maybe it'll give independent retailers another channel to sell and grow on. That's the optimistic view of how I am.
No, I like optimism. It's one of those things I'm trying to do a better job of, because it's part of me as like someone wants to be like a futurist is like reads the terrains. Like it could go two ways, right? There's two avenues this can go down. There's like a Black Mirror avenue, and then there's an avenue that makes you think like this is good for everybody. It does get crazy when you see like, hey, they think about buying JCPenney, and then AMC theaters, right? It's all of a sudden now movie theaters, they took a $2.2 billion loss last quarter. Amazon buys movie theaters. They have their production company. So it's this balancing act of it's, hey, if this one company does have such economies of scale that can be passed on and benefit consumers and business alike, it gets tricky when it's the platform competes with the sellers. And this is like the challenge I think Apple's had, Amazon's had, where it's, hey, you're the platform, but you're also competing in the platform. Yeah. And it's hard to really believe you when you say, well, like we don't have a competitive advantage. We compete fairly there. Like Apple, when they, came out their podcasts and Apple Music and Spotify all of a sudden dropped like 10 spots, and it just conveniently, it happened naturally and organically.
Max, that's a really good point. And I didn't like, because I'm in the platform day in and day out, there's a lot of risk to Amazon too, right? And I don't know if you've seen Wall-E, right? Yep. Like this could become very Wall-E-esque, where like Amazon controls us to the point where like we just keep on buying all these, packages. I think Amazon is also a fierce competitor, right? Like I've heard of many brands that are on the platform and Amazon just undercuts and goes straight to the factory and becomes their own Amazon Basics brand, right? Like, so there's a lot of, look at what's going on in the warehouses and like the treatment of like workers, coronavirus, like there's so much to think about. But I'm curious personally, like, is this just going to become like where Google and Facebook are with government regulation, right? Like at some point they're going to get super huge, and then the government's going to step in and saying, well, even though you built this ad platform, you can't favor yourself, right? In products, to your point. So I agree with you. I'm hoping for the positive side of things, but you and I both know that, that's not always going to be what the outcome is.
Yeah. It's all you can do. You got to be hopeful, and you got to, be strategic and think about worst case scenarios and protect yourself, but be positive and try to kind of bring that positivity. It is smart what they do, because what they've done, which is very, very smart, is like Facebook and Google kind of do like one thing. Obviously Google has a lot of things, but like they're known for one kind of really big thing, and they keep growing vertically. What Amazon's done, which is really smart, is they've been growing horizontally and acquiring, health insurance company, and then a movie. Like, so it's like they're not getting too big in any one category, but they're gobbling up big chunks of a lot of different industries, which is like, it's technically not a monopoly because it's not in one industry, but it's like if they own 30% of like 20 industries, that's all of a sudden it's never been done before. So there's no way to like govern it because there's no policy in place for it.
Oh, I mean, when I went to CES, right? Like Amazon's experience was one of the most fascinating, right? Like you could basically fill your house with Amazon, and with much interest, I was reading kind of their dynamic with Sonos, right? Like Sonos, really relies on Amazon and Alexa and all this technology. And And then Amazon came out with, a very similar product with its Echo line of speakers. So you're right. Like, where does that crossover end when you can still be competitive? But, when you are too small to be noticed in these segments, like, how are you going to get that attention, right? Outside of some reporter covering the issue, like the New York Times did, or I think it was the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, makes complete sense. So we had talked about something earlier in our conversation about like, hey, we're seeing these huge spikes in demand and all this great stuff is happening. I'm curious with specifically content SEO, a lot of the stuff that you specialize in and help your clients with. If there's a challenge right now in getting them to, or getting new clients to invest in those things when they're so short-sighted. And that's been one of my biggest frustrations when we really did the agency, was like how short-sighted businesses get, right? They want results now. They want to give you money today, make money today. And I knew how hard it was just to like tell them, hey, well, we need to have post-purchase retargeting, which we're selling like a few weeks of window. I can only imagine you're saying, hey, well, we're going to do something today, invest today, and you might see results weeks from now, months from now.
Yep.
But the results are going to be stable and consistent and build a foundation. I'm curious if you're seeing any change in pushbacks or objections there, and what your thoughts are on like just being a good time to invest in those elements of your business.
Yeah, I have so many ways I can go. I have so many directions I can go with this. And I will say in today's marketplace, folks are willing to invest in Amazon, e-com, and paid, right? Like those are immediate return. Like, hey, I see this population at home I can access. Let's upgrade these things right now and here. For me, SEO has been like a lifelong like love and curiosity. I'm actually a CPA, so like to me, like rule-based type of activities really help because I know what box I can play in. So what I found to be my success point is like just a ton of education, right? Like, and the proof's in the pudding. So both of my agencies I've optimized for various keywords like Amazon marketing agency or social media agency or digital marketing agency. And oftentimes I'll just show clients that success. I'm like, hey, look, A, that's how you found me to begin with. But B, I've attracted some of the best nameplates out there, like the Obama Foundation or the Yum brands. And both of my agencies that I've been fortunate to be part of, we've gotten some incredible clients. And that's all the result of SEO. So I think it comes down to like just being patient and having a ton of education and case studies that prove it out, right? So if I can show a client that, hey, if we just upgraded your analytics, like that's often like the biggest blind spot actually, is like they don't even know, they might not even be aware of like how much analytics can tell them. And so if I start digging in with them, and I usually ask for that access up front, I'm like, hey, like in order to like, put together a proposal, I need to take a look under the hood and get your analytics at least. And then I can just walk them through like, hey, here's how many people came through search. Now you can use paid to retarget these folks, but you can also find more of these people. And because these people are at the top of the funnel, we have more of an opportunity to market them through that life cycle. So a lot of it is education. A lot of it is just case studies. A lot of it is just grind. To what you alluded to, it's like either you believe this works and you're ready to make that long-term time commitment, or you don't. But like the SEO companies that probably like guarantee first place rankings in 30 days, like it's like, go ahead, try it out. And then, I'll still be here when you're ready to get started. So,
I mean, has SEO gotten easier or harder right now? Like I feel like it's always changing. And again, I have almost zero expertise in this area when it comes to Google and search and the Penguin or whatever the latest thing is. But it seems like obviously as AI gets more advanced and as the algorithms get more advanced, it becomes harder and harder for people to game the system, which I think should be like a net benefit for people that are doing the right thing. So I'm just curious if those enhancements are making it a little easier, or there's just so much competition now because so many people are getting online that it's counterbalancing and it's either the same or it's harder than it used to be.
I think the people that are willing to invest in actual quality SEO are very rare, right? So the folks that are willing to put in time in like great content, to actually do outreach thoughtfully, to take the time to even do activities like this that you and I are doing, right? Like in terms of content marketing, that's far and few between. And so those people are constantly and always going to win because they're producing good quality content that people are willing to share. I think too, when I think about this, is follow the rules, right? Google kind of tells you pretty like clearly what you need to be doing and what you don't need to be doing. And it's when you try to take shortcuts to that process, that you end up stumbling kind of and like almost devaluing the authority of your site. And then I think, SEO can get to be so technical, but why don't we just put like a human lens on it? Like, what would Max want to read on 108 or on Unicorn, right? Like, what's he going to want to read? What is he going to consume? What's he going to take away? So if I can produce good quality content for you, Google recognizes and provides value for that. Now, we don't know exactly how that happens, but that's kind of been my experience over the past decade. I'd also say that there's two types of SEO. So like finding the right type of person for the solution, just like you would like suggest, various paid search tactics. You're going to find the people that are like into content creation and really just say, let's bulk up your site with great content and Google may come and read. I tend to follow the second path of like, let's focus on building high quality backlinks because what was good for us in 2000 is still actually relevant today. That backlinks play a vital role in how your site's going to rank. That's really one of the few clues that Google has, I feel personally, to be able to even decide if your site's authoritative on the content, right? So that's kind of what like I love doing the most is like, here's the problem. I want to rank #1 for Amazon marketing agency. Well, great. Let me look at the competitive landscape. Like, who is it, right? What are they doing? What are they producing? And then you want to start thinking like, you could either go for the whole basket, right? Like all over the country, or do I want to just focus on Chicago? And so like, based on like these series of questions, like you can kind of figure out and carve out your niche in terms of SEO. And that's where I think winning strategies happen, right?
Yeah. Are there certain categories? So you just said like Amazon marketing agency, right? Are there, we're at a place now where the people that have, the high authority sites, the big content sites in every niche,
Yeah.
they've been doing it now for years, sometimes like, a site's been on for a decade, right? Do you find that there's like walls that have been built around certain properties where, hey, if I want to come into this market, I really like, I could do everything right, but the chance of me ever even like breaking through is slim to none. And therefore we need to like refocus our strategies completely.
Yeah. And I think that goes to your original question of patience, right? Is that if you find a client that's willing to be patient, bless you, willing to be patient and work with you on getting there. So what I'd say is, let's start with the lowest hanging fruit of keywords. Like, what is your specialty, right? Like, let's just say you're a shampoo company, right? A kids shampoo company. So maybe you won't win against Dove on like paraben-free shampoo, but you could certainly win against maybe like kids, best kids paraben-free shampoo, right? And so let's start with those gains and like build trust within the ecosystem of Google and search, and then start building on top of those layers. So I don't think so. I think you could outrank any site you want, and I give myself like, I would say like the .gov, the .edus, Facebook, Google aside, you can be pretty competitive for almost anything you want it to be. But it's got to take a deliberate backlink strategy and then really good content to get there, and just persistence. I think a lot of it is just like it's almost like the people that went to that gold mine rush, right, in San Francisco. Like, they stopped before the last mile, that old parable. Like, it's almost like that. Like, oftentimes you find success in that last outreach email, or like that last month of the campaign when you got to deliver, just because you're like just really just that enormous effort. And one other thing I've noticed about SEO is that it's almost like sales, right? You have like 500 prospects, and you've just got to figure out what the right pitch is going to be for someone to accept your business.
It's a great point. I think it's a consistent theme we see across the entire marketing spectrum, whether it's paid or organic and everything in between. There's this, and I don't even know what it is. I'm curious to get your opinion on this too. Like, this weird expectation for people entering the market that it's like the gold rush. Like I go out there, I buy a pickaxe, and I just hit a rock and gold. I'm good, right? Day one, found it. And the reality is, for people that have been doing this for years or decades, is like, no, it's taken us years and years and years of really, really hard work to achieve the success that people are like sharing on Facebook all over the place, right? Um, and it's frustrating for us. I can only imagine it's probably way more frustrating for you because just the nature of your business requires even that much more work and commitment. Are there certain things that you're doing on the front end to level those expectations? Because we get, like, on the paid traffic side, people say day one, hey, I understand that it's going to take 2 months of
Yep.
testing. I understand, we're good. We have the recorded Zoom calls with them agreeing to it, and then we're
Yep.
3 weeks in. It's like, why aren't we at a 5x ROAS? So I always
Yep.
like picking people's brains, like, hey, are there any processes, questions, things that they do to get those expectations set day one?
What a great question. And I just tell people how it is on day one, that nothing's going to happen for 6 months. Like, don't even think that a ranking is going to move or your site's going to change. And like, if that's what your expectation is, that something's going to happen in the first 6 months, like, we're just better off like a referral or doing some paid media work while we're working on this behind the scenes. Another, so I really like lay it really, I set those expectations really early on, that SEO is a very long and deliberate process. It's almost like, you're courting someone and you're thinking about, getting married or something like that, right? Like, it's going to take a while to get to know each other, write the right content, and then find the right relationships to engage in to get those backlinks. And so that's one part of my process. The second part of the process that I think is really unique is that, to make it risk-free and to gain that patience, is that we take a commission on SEO sales. So after the first month or two, our success is really dependent on driving SEO driven revenue. And I feel like that makes clients pretty comfortable instantly. Like, hey, like, we're in this together, right? You're not making money unless you actually drive SEO sales. And that really, I think, also level sets everybody, is that we're working alongside with you to grow this revenue, because that's how we get comped, but we're also like really invested in growing your business. And that's a rare feature of SEO agencies. A lot of the conversations that I have with my clients that are evaluating other agencies, it's like, I'm going to do five batches of content, I'm going to do 10 citations, and like, I'm like, SEO is just not prescriptive. Like, I don't actually necessarily know. I generally know the general framework of like how I'm going to approach your SEO for any business. But how we're going to get there could change, because Google last month, released this massive Google algorithm update. Like, almost everything changed in my world in like a span of 3 weeks, right? And we had to kind of relearn how to react and adapt to it. And I can't tell you 2 months before that, like, what I'm going to do today. So to your question, or to maybe answer it more directly, is I'm really realistic about SEO. And then I often point to my own site. It took me 18 months to get to where I needed to get to, right? To really own, or not own, but like to really surface up in the Chicago market for Amazon marketing. And so by showing kind of that process that I took, is oftentimes how I explain to clients like what it's going to look like for them.
Definitely. I think what's interesting, especially when it's listening and thinking about like the trade-offs and the investment required, like, I would love for any client I worked with to have really strong SEO, because what ends up happening with a lot of people, students of mine and clients, is they pump a ton of money to pay traffic and things look great, right? I've seen people go to tens
Yeah.
of thousands of dollars a day in sales out of the gate, like with a new business. But what happens is the ads stop working, you get creative fatigue, you pull off the gas. Now you have a store doing $100 a day again. And
Yeah.
that's like, if you're thinking about selling a company, if I'm building a company to sell at some point, like having multiple traffic
Mm-hmm.
streams, especially streams that continue to increase over time without requiring more capital, that's, I mean, makes it so powerful. And that's why,
Yeah.
frankly, like, I know we're working together and doing some projects, because it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we're building an asset here. If we're building an asset, it's going to require investment, it's going to require time, hard work, and multiple sources of traffic, multiple sources of customers. And if you're not willing to do that, it's probably not the best fit to start a business now or to grow a business. Like, that's, if your mentality isn't that, it might not be the right time or the mindset at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a, you bet, right? Is SEO to me is such an important source of like evergreen traffic. That's going to be something that's going to make the phone ring all day long. Once it actually like takes off, right? So, and that's what I allude to my clients to. It's like you're planting a tree today to bear the fruit in 2 or 3 years. Now, hopefully, it doesn't take that long, and we're often able to deliver results much faster. Um, it's just that I just want people to be really realistic, because you read like the 5 best ways to be number one in Google like all day long on Yahoo or whatever it is, right? And like people have all these like preconceived notions of what SEO is going to do. Like, oh, I put my site up, like Google's just going to come by and rank it. I'm like, no, it doesn't actually work that way, right? Like we've got to help Google understand why to even bother to come by, right? And to rank your site or even like index it. Like, is it a good experience for users? Like there's some like really simple questions that like if we can get right, yeah, we'll be there, right? And then let's stay ahead of the curve. Just like paid media, I feel like Google is constantly evolving, right? Like, so like look at what's going on with SERP and like answer boxes or position zero. And I love this because like if I can get my clients ready today for those position zero queries, I'm getting them ready for voice search tomorrow, right? Because like what's Alexa or Google going to answer back to you on? It's going to be the first result of Google. So those are things that like I think we can really set up for our clients for success long term with SEO.
Yeah, that's a great thing you brought up, because I was asking this question more people like a while ago, and then I lost this thread, but just this reminded me, like, what do you think all of this looks like a few years from now when we're not using displays? Like that blows my mind. If you think about, we've basically every facet of everything we do as businesses and humans is predicated on seeing something and interacting with it, right? Whether it's our TVs, whether it's our tablets, computers, phones, it's a screen. I see something, it's visual, it's moving, and I can interact with it. At some point, like the smart speakers and stuff's gonna be something. It's gonna be so ubiquitous, and it's a totally different interface. Like you don't have, you're not gonna say like, "Hey Google, what's this?" and you're gonna get 10 listings. We're gonna list 1 through 10, and then if you want to go to page 2, say go to page 2. Like it's just not gonna happen. Like so, how does that change the game in terms of just? We can talk in general, but like search specifically.
I love this question because I'm a big Star Trek fan. And so, right, like they just hit their button and ask questions away, and like we're there. I certainly feel like even like look at the very small things that Amazon's doing on Prime Day, where you can ask Alexa to buy a certain deal, right? Like we're getting conditioned to just use our voices without even seeing something and buying it because it's a good deal. So I certainly think that you're on track. I see a world that's going to be very centered on our voices or even movement, right? And just we'll have a lot more interfaces. Like when you look at the MacBook Pro, like the touch bar, like I think we're going to see a lot more of that, where we don't even have to see something, but we'll just ask somebody, like, "Hey, I need sidewalk chalk," and we'll just get it, right? Whether we want to or not, there's a different story. But we're certainly trending in that direction of the future. And I think that position zero to me really made that more concrete for me more than anything else, because like when you look at position zero results in Google, they're very native. It's very plain English too, right? So like when you ask Google that question or Siri that question, you're going to get back like a relatively decent conversation back about like, how far is the sun from our planet, right?
And just for people who don't know what position zero is, just can you explain that kind of box in that area? Yeah.
Absolutely. So actually, it varies on placement, but when you search for, how far is the sun from the earth, you'll see maybe some Google ads, and then you'll see this big box call out before you see anything else that'll have an answer from usually a reputable source. Just be there as your first result.
Got it.
But yeah, so I think, to what all that innovation is going on, like look at those people who also ask. So again, under position zero is usually like a text statement of some sorts to the answer to the query you're asking. And then there's also people also ask FAQs almost in Google search results. And that's also part of position zero. So when you start looking at what like all the search engines are doing to answer questions, and even what we're doing on our end to really optimize websites for more questions than just phrases or keywords, it certainly signals that hopefully in the next 20 or 30 years, right, or even faster, like this is going to become an everyday occurrence with our AirPods and whatnot, that we're just going to start asking questions and getting options at a touch of a fingertip.
So what does that do for everybody else, right? if you operate in a world, and I love the position zero stuff. It's like for recipes, it's great because I can just Google it and I
Yeah.
have the recipe right there. I don't have to go searching
Yep.
through 10 different sources. So it's super convenient, and it's almost always like the best option. I've like tested it and like
Yeah.
looked through, and it's like it does a pretty good
Yeah.
job of finding the right option. But you were talking earlier about like Amazon. Hey, there's companies now on page 2 and 3 that are doing really well because people are doing more research and they're diving deeper.
Yeah.
How does that transition impact the way like the rest of businesses that used to be like, long tail and like get multiple, they could still compete being the sixth or seventh listing if all of a sudden it's just, food.com and motor trend and like just the big authority sites that have just so much content, so much domination of those topics.
This is where your query about Amazon and its presence really plays a factor here, right? Because once you get to be a certain size, then you're just going to dominate those position zeros. So like those publisher sites that you mentioned will have a key competitive advantage over anything that I can do from an SEO
Yep.
perspective, just because of the sheer number of backlinks. So I certainly think that SEO, uh, is going to become tougher and tougher over time as voice search gets hold. But I think that market of those, people on the tech edge is really small right now, right? People are still really comfortable using display. But we've all got to start thinking about it. And that's why we're talking about it, right? Because I am confident that that's the direction we're going into. And so I'm getting my clients ready for it because a lot of SEO sometimes is being the first to market almost like. And so if I can get you ready today, you'll be hopefully ready for anything that comes up next. But unfortunately, I think on the voice search side of things, it's going to be dominated by tech. And there's going to have to probably be some sort of intervention, some way, some shape, to make it a little bit more competitive of a marketplace. And so now we'll have like position, -1, -2, and then 0, right? So who knows what that's going to look like coming up.
Yeah, and then how they work in ads and stuff. It's going to be very interesting how they, you get the position pivot first. Let's read you a sponsored, answer to that question. Like it'll be very interesting how they make that experience non-intrusive and more natural. Is there anything that
Yeah.
people that are listening right now could do in terms of how they write content to get some of those position zero spots?
Yeah. Actually, I'd even take it one step back and say, pull up your website on your iPhone and see how fast it loads. Out of all the things that we talk about in SEO, like this might be one of the most overlooked is how fast your site is from a mobile perspective. So that's the easiest thing that you can fix as a business owner today, I feel. But yeah, secondly, I'd say like, really look at the questions that people are asking you through live chat, through contact forms, through emails. These are the questions that people are asking Google and some of these other search engines. Can you write content and link up some schema? Schema is just like a language that Google uses to talk to website in your blog. Like take your frequently asked questions and start just loading it up with, what are some of those natural queries that people are asking about your brand, product, or service? And that, to me, can get you a decent way into rankings and at least get you moved from like page 10 or 9 to like 2 and 3. So now you've like half the battle is won already, right?
Yeah.
And then you just start looking at like technical optimizations, like how fast your site is and some of these like minor details. And then you start really looking at building out powerful pieces of content. One last tip I have too is less is more. So don't feel obligated to write like 10, 250 word articles. Can you give me like 2,000 word article a month? I can do a lot with that. So that's oftentimes more valuable than a whole bunch of small articles throughout the month.
I've heard that before. What is it about long form content that Google likes so much more? Is it just because it's typically like to write long form requires a lot more research and information, or is there something else that's going on?
There's an abundance of factors, but what I can probably point to is that on the surface, at least, it seems way more authoritative, right? Like, you've just got a sheer volume of like great content to really give out. Usually, those types of articles have a ton of outbound links, right, to other sources to cite other authoritative sites, and then usually those types of content are a valuable resource for people like you and me. So we'll actually link it from our own sites, and so it kind of becomes its own self-fulfilling prophecy, I feel like, of like I write this like 3,000 piece article on Pinterest marketing. and people will find it useful and then link back to it. And so then Google just starts following, and know and can understand that it's relevant to a user query.
Can you
Whereas like a
yeah.
short form post, like how much can you really get? How much are you going to get about a Pinterest marketing tactic in like 250 words or less,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a soundbite. So
Can you go back and update? Because what I've seen people do is like they'll write, in 2017 they started the ultimate guide to Facebook marketing, whatever it might be, and then they update in 2018, update in 2019, and it's consistently being added to. Is that the same effect, or is it better to just like write something totally fresh, post it, and then if you have another piece of content to write it as a brand new piece?
I'm a big fan of recycling.
Okay.
So, definitely update the dates, add some new paragraphs, change out some things. So hopefully if you spent 10 hours on it or 5 hours on it to start, maybe the next time you update it's one. I think also like another trick is like, can you just, make it ready for 2021, right? And get that pre-seeded ahead of time. So, just be thinking about like kind of like, where is this going to go in the next year, and what can I write about, that next trend today?
Yeah, I love that. So many great tips there, and I want to make sure there's so much other stuff I want to talk to you about. So I want to make sure we don't
Yep,
run out of time.
for
Something
sure.
I saw just looking at your bio and watching your videos and all this stuff was the importance of philanthropy in your life, specifically in like K through 12 education. Um, One of the things that I've seen lack in like younger entrepreneurs is a this is probably a generalization because it's not going to be accurate to everybody, but it's like the mentality, hey, I'm going to focus on making a lot of money, and then when I'm like 50, 60, and I slow down, then I'm
Hmm.
going to start a foundation and do all these things. um and I think that just it's a mistake. There's so many things you don't have to have the money now. There's so many things you can just do. Your knowledge, your resource, your network. um I'm curious, just at a high level, like what do you think younger entrepreneurs can do, people that are active in philanthropy, to encourage kind of the community to do more? Because there's so much knowledge and resources in our community, and there's so much good that can be done.
Yeah,
But I feel like it's that I'll do it when I'm older
yeah,
mentality.
yeah, yeah. I would say like, to your point, I started really early on being incredibly involved in, as you mentioned, K through 12 education. And I did it because I've been afforded so many opportunities in my life that to me, to be able to work with students and to hopefully inspire them to become entrepreneurs themselves, or to pursue career paths that they're really eager and excited about. And if I could even be that bridge to show them that, I'm a first generation, you know, here in America. So what can I do to give back to the community that's given me so much? And to your point of like, why wait, right? Like, um, I'd say a younger entrepreneur today, and the case for volunteering and being active in your community is that you are going to get way back in return than you can ever give forth.
Yep.
And so, on the more like personal side of the outcomes of some of that volunteering and being active in the community is I've met great mentors, incredible mentors that helped me, guide me, and grow my business. But in turn, I've made really awesome friends and colleagues and students that I've got to connect with and really follow their journeys with. So um, to me, like living that kind of balanced and well-rounded life is really important to me, right? Like, how do I give back? And that can just help you be part of and bust out of the kind of silo that you build as an entrepreneur too, right? Like it's really easy to sit right here on this desk and just pound away at my computer for 12 hours a day. But on Monday, I get to be a judge at a startup competition for young students, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like I've learned a terrific amount. Like if I can prevent, or if I can at least share some of my experiences, right, to other entrepreneurs, like awesome, right? And I'll learn a ton back in return. So, to me, the importance is like it helps you grow as a person. It helps grow your network, and then also that personal joy of also like just contributing to your community and being active in it. That's been the fun, like the most fun part for me, year
Totally.
in and year out.
So you've gotten a lot of insight and experience into the education system. You've been involved in
Hmm.
it a long time, so you've seen the good and the bad and everything in between.
Yeah.
what's something that, based on your experience, like if you could just snap your fingers or flip a switch, would you put into our education system, like nationwide or across the world, that you think would best help kids? I know it's like a loaded question because there's so much that can help them, but like from a skill set side or from a resource side, or there's something that if all of our kids K through 12 or even just in high school had access to this, it would dramatically increase success rates for students in their lives.
It's gonna, I might diverge from this answer a little bit, but
That's
I
fine.
almost think it's down to like a meal. Like in the majority of our students don't have access to food. And
Yep.
can you imagine the impact on your mental wealth, mental and health? And then at lunch, when you don't have a lunch to bring to the table, right? Or you're not able to provide for that. And we all know how high school and school is. Like, anything that makes you different is not necessarily always going to be a positive experience. I
Yep.
also think what I've noticed the most in my experience in K through 12 education is like, how do we bridge the gap between that home life and that school environment? Because if I can, school is such a controlled environment, but there's so much that goes on outside of the classroom that if there was a counselor or there was some sort of support system in schools to really help students be able to bridge like all the turmoil that's going on as they're growing up, no matter what kind of background you have, I feel could really be such an incredible resource because um, that 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 ability to be able to talk to someone about things that are going on in your life may not always be something that you have the opportunity to do so at home. So that's kind of more, I think, the softer but really important things that I've observed. I think, oddly enough, maybe less technology in the classroom because, you know, when you're, what I've at least observed in classrooms is that humans, we all connect to people, right? And the more automated that school becomes, like the more I feel like we lose track of what it is that they're learning or what's distracting them or where do they need help. And we become more and more siloed when I feel like we need to get more and more open and being vulnerable to asking those questions in the classroom. So those are just some like probably like unexpected answers to your question, but things that I think are important.
It makes a lot of sense, and that's been one of the tougher things about seeing what's happened the last few months with schools being shut down. That I think a lot of people
Yeah,
are not focusing on is a lot of kids depend on school to get meals
yeah,
and to have that structure, and their home life's really terrible, and there's no visits being done by child protective services. There's so much that's like so many consequences that are kind of
yeah,
being like an afterthought, which is tough, especially school's done, so it's like hopefully in the fall kids will go back to school because it's a
yeah,
long period of time to have to go without those kind of basic needs that every kid has, which is just
yeah,
which is really unfortunate and really tough. So where do you
yeah.
go? Where do you go from here? So what, like, is there a big goal if you said, hey, like, 75 and I'm looking back and like this is what I was able to achieve at at this level
Mhm.
for this this problem.
On that side of things, I really want to figure out a way to provide uh, some sort of like um, like transition education for those that are in prison and re-entering the workforce. Like, what if all these people could like know how to code or do digital marketing? Like, these are things that like are much valuable skills,
Yeah.
right? That and could provide a great living and opportunity. And sometimes, often, I feel like uh, let's figure out ways to work together to get these people into a great transition, a great job, and opportunity. This is what I even think about the kids and the students that I get to work with is like, we all have so much potential. And the value of a kind word or just like some, a pat on the back can go so far in changing the trajectory of your life. And so when I'm 75, like I'm really hoping I can make an impact on this education, whether it's students or if it's going to be adults re-entering the workforce because they've been, they made some sort of like something happened to them and
Yep.
their life didn't go the way it planned, right? I think from a personal goal, like if you ask me what I want to do in the next 5 years, like I've been really imagining that I'm going to build out some sort of like e-commerce brand in the toy space. Like I'm super excited to take everything that I've learned to really learn, to really build out, something that's more of a D2C brand of my own. So that's what I'm like super excited about for the future.
Love it, man. Well, that's super exciting and inspirational. I hope people that are watching this like feel like you can do a little more, right? It's you don't have to do something massive day one. It's just volunteering or doing little things here or there, and then
Yeah.
building on that and building on that towards a longer
Yeah.
term goal. If people, just to close out, people want to learn more about you, if they want to learn more about 108 and how to work with you, what's the best place for
Yeah.
them to go and do that?
Yeah. Shoot me an email at Aalap at 108.agency. The O is actually a letter O, but that's probably the best way to reach me or visit. I'm not a huge social media person, so I can't offer any connections up there, but LinkedIn's a great place to find me too.
That's great. Well, it was a pleasure chatting. I had a blast. We covered a lot of great stuff and stuff that I haven't talked to a lot of people about, which is always exciting for me when it's
Yep.
not like the same conversation over and over again. So I definitely want to do another one of these soon. And I'm sure everyone
Cool.
listening enjoyed all the lessons you had. And there you have it. We'll drop the link to learn more about Aalap and 108 and how you can work with them. And we will see you all same time, same place on the next episode. Thanks, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I know I have a blast with all these episodes. This is something I really have fun doing. This is a passion project for me. There's no real big agenda here, but I've been getting a lot of requests from people that listen to the show, that watch it, wherever they're watching it, for how they can learn more, how they can get into the community, the unicorn community. So I wanted to record this little outro just as a way to tell you more about how you can get deeper into our community, learn more, engage more, build deeper relationships, and all that good stuff. But first, if you enjoy these episodes, wherever you're watching, if you're watching it on Facebook, YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, make sure wherever you are, if you like this, give it 5 stars, give it a thumbs up, give it that like button, wherever you are, right? It's going to be different wherever you are. Write a review and make sure you subscribe so you get the latest episode that drops every week on Thursday. Now, if you want to join our free Facebook group, it's growing like crazy. We now have over 23,000 people in that group. Just go to Facebook and search Marketing Strategies for Business Leaders. That's our free Facebook group. Amazing content in there. We're starting to really build it up and do some cool stuff there. If you want to go further, if you want to invest in yourself, you want to be part of our kind of premium program, specifically to learn advanced cutting edge paid traffic skills, be able to ask me questions on a weekly basis, be able to have me personally review your ads, your funnels, your landing pages, all that good stuff, go to Paid Traffic Training, all one word, paidtraffictraining.com. You'll be able to learn all about that program. It's a monthly program, gives you access to both my Facebook courses, private Facebook group, and again, we do weekly calls where I do a 90-minute call with our students, and they can ask me anything. I share the latest and greatest stuff. I can review, ads and funnels and all that good stuff. I do audits, Q&As, amazing stuff, and that's just $97 a month. It's month to month, no long-term commitment. So if you want to be part of that, paidtraffictraining.com. If you don't, but you want to just be part of our group, go to Marketing Strategies for Business Leaders. That's on Facebook. Just search that. Join our free Facebook group and join the unicorn community. And remember, give it 5 stars, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next